Hello everyone, my name is Chris Kalinich and I'd like to welcome you into my kitchen, also known as the Platter Kitchen. Today I am excited to share with you one of my favorite tried and true recipes, and what I like about it is its simplicity, its wonderful taste, it's loaded with lots of wonderful nutrients, and it can be used in a variety of ways. So one of my favorite recipes. So let's get the camera off of me and we're gonna focus it right on what's important, and that happens to be the wonderful rainbow of food that we have going on here, the ingredients. And what's wonderful about this recipe is it's using, like I said, a rainbow of color. So that's important. To get into your diet, try to focus on the wonderful colors, get a variety in your daily diet of different colors, because they all provide different types of nutrients. But this particular recipe, through what's being used, will give you lots of fiber. It also gives you allyl sulfides, which are from kind of the allium family. So we're going to be using some onion in this recipe, and then lycopene. We get quite a bit of lycopene in this recipe from the wonderful tomatoes. But let's start out with kind of the focus, the highlight of this recipe, because it's called the colorful corn salsa. So we have to start out with some corn. Now, if it's not in season, which it's not summertime right now here in Sedona, it's actually in the heart of winter, but I have a bag always of frozen corn in my freezer. And so I have 1 cup of thawed frozen corn to start with in this bowl. The next thing I'm going to add is 2 medium tomatoes. Now, that gives you about quite a bit of tomatoes. And just to give you a visual, for me, a medium tomato is about this size. Tomatoes can grow monstrous, right? But I consider this a medium tomato, but if you really love tomatoes, add more. No problem in this recipe to add more of something if you really truly love it. So we're going to add in the 2 medium tomatoes that have been chopped. And then next we're going to add in some green bell pepper, and it's a 1/2 cup. And again, if you'd like me, you want to know visually what to purchase at the grocery store when a recipe tells you a 1/2 cup of a green bell pepper. This is the other side of the bell pepper, so it's about, it's again not monstrous, but I just used a 1/2 of it. So if you wanted to double this recipe, which I encourage you to do because I think you're going to love it so much, you would need 1 full bell pepper. But I'm just doing the version as it's printed, and it's a 1/2 cup of green bell pepper. And we are also going to add a 1/2 cup of diced orange bell pepper. So if you wanted, you could use orange. You could also use red bell pepper. But since we have the red going on in the tomatoes, I went for what they call for in the recipe, just to give that beautiful visual appeal to this salsa. Next, we're going to add the chopped onion. And for this, we need a 1/4 cup. If you're sensitive to onion, what I recommend doing is maybe starting with a 1/4 cup or an 1/8 of a cup of onion, or a green onion, which is milder, or maybe a shallot. Use a shallot instead. But I thought I had some left over, like just a part of a red onion. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of red onion. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add in some freshly squeezed lime juice. And they call for 3 to 4 tablespoons. Now, if you don't have a lime on hand, and usually a lime, depending on its size and how hydrated it is, they typically give about 2 tablespoons, maybe 3 for a traditional lime. But if you don't have that, you are more than welcome to use lime juice in a jar. And they call for 3 to 4 tablespoons, and I'm using 3 tablespoons. Now, not typical when I think of salsa, what they call for next is 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar. And you'll find this in the vinegar aisle sometimes, or also in the Asian section. Rice vinegar has somewhat of a sweet, tangy is a sweet tang type vinegar. So I really enjoy it in this recipe. And I think it works well when you blend all the ingredients together. However, if you don't have that on hand, you don't need to run out to the grocery store for it, you could use something like apple cider vinegar, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, or try some other type of vinegar that you do have on hand. Now, the next thing I'm going to put into the salad and is the final ingredient. I need to kind of work my way over here and bring my cutting board here for you. Is when we think of salsa, a lot of you may think of putting cilantro in, and that would be a marvelous ingredient in here if you love cilantro. Some people don't. But what I love and a lot of people really enjoy about this particular salsa recipe is it uses basil, and it uses 10 basil leaves. And so I just want to show you what you want to do with basil, because it's a very sensitive herb. It gets easily kind of damaged or oxidized. It starts turning black when you start cutting it. It's very fragile. And so you want to kind of stack it up into layers and then roll it as you saw me do it, and then just gently cut it into slivers with a sharp knife. And so this combination of basil, the addition of rice wine vinegar, really, to me, makes this an elevated salsa recipe that's just not typical of your typical salsa recipe. So there I have it, and I'm going to add in the basil, and then all you do is stir. And then you want to let it sit for a little bit to meld the flavors. And that's it. So let me just talk about how you might want to use this salsa in different ways. So I'm going to bring the camera back up to me. Hi there, lovely folks. So I'm smelling it. It looks beautiful, does it not? So it's a salsa. It's a very hearty salsa, right? I actually kind of view it as a side dish at this point. It does go well with baked tortilla chips or inside of a burrito, for sure. But let me show you what I like to do with this salsa. To make it even heartier, let's say I want to extend it for a family, or I want to kind of turn it into a main, an entree. I would add some, you could cook your own like black beans, like I pulled from my freezer, or you just get a can and drain of pinto beans or some low sodium black beans, drain and rinse those off, and then you can introduce the quantity that you would like to have in here. Another idea to extend it even further is you could take a bowl of intact whole grains. This is actually some kamut and spelt berries that I cooked earlier in the week that I'm using for my breakfast bowls in the morning. But you could put this salsa and beans on top of that. You could obviously put it inside of, a whole wheat tortilla and make a burrito, and maybe add in some luscious chopped avocado for some smooth, creamy richness to this salsa. And then finally, one of my favorite things to do is to cook a sweet potato. This is a small little dinky sweet potato, but you could cook a sweet potato and load the sweet potato with, this colorful corn salsa mixed in with beans and avocado. Or you could even chop it up and add some chopped, after you've cooked it, the sweet potato, and introduce it into the colorful corn salsa, and add some extra sweetness and lusciousness through introducing chopped sweet potato into the colorful corn salsa. So I hope you can see that with this colorful corn salsa, and it makes quite a bit, but even if you doubled the batch, let's say, you could use it for a variety of ways, variety of uses throughout your week, and enjoy it in many different ways. So hopefully you have enjoyed this short cooking demo and the ways we can explore taking one recipe and using it in multiple ways. So thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.